Drink Champs might be done.
Well, no white guy should be.
Yeah, don't let no white comedian. Don't talk about no black woman. That's the law. I didn't even really care about that much. About that. I thought it was corny. He'd try to censor another artist because I don't know, you're an artist. I always saw him as prolific artist. But it was the next line that I thought was crazy and nobody really talked about.
What's that line?
He's and to the N-words, the cone and the N-words being grouped, slide on both of them. What does slide mean to you guys?
What's that?
Shoe, right? So
No, it doesn't necessarily mean shoes.
all right, whatever. My point is, I thought, and a lot of people thought that that's in reference to Charlemagne and Alex Media, who I do the show with. So if you're telling people to slide on my friends, anything I say back after that is fine, in my opinion. But I love these people. So if you're gonna put that energy out there in the world, whatever I say back to you is fine because you took it there.
What up, word your boy Charles Brown back again talking facts. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell. Keep sending those Cashaps to CLBMG. Join the membership gang. Listen, I have been watching Drink Champs since the very beginning. I believe around 2016, a very, very original show, a podcast called Drink Champs with then Noriega, aka N.O.R.E, right? N.O.R.E on the run eating. I know y'all remember Noriega and my guy over there. They had a big record. They had a few big records back in the day, N.O.R.E and Capone, and they were some of the hardest rappers out of New York. As a matter of fact, I believe they were part of a New York renaissance at the time when New York was trying to reclaim the mantle of just hardcore rap back from the West Coast. N.O.R.E and Mobb Deep and quite a few others were a part of that resurgence, right? And I believe that they put a lot of places on the map, such as Lefrak, right? N.O.R.E's hometown up in Queens, and many, many, many stories of all kinds of incidents have been spoken about from Lefrak and Queens and things of that nature. And a lot of those guys became legendary in hip hop, such as Prodigy, Havoc, Nas, people from that area. So N.O.R.E is solidified in this hip-hop thing. N.O.R.E merged with DJ EFN, who's I believe a Cuban DJ from Florida. I'm not sure if it's Miami, but I do know, if I'm not mistaken, that DJ EFN is from Florida. And what they put together was an amazing original podcast. No one was doing this. It was called Drink Champs, where they would interview N.O.R.E's friends, for lack of a better word. These were artists, but they were his friends, people who he had built relationships in the industry with, who probably wouldn't have done other podcasts, and they didn't do a lot of other interviews, but they would sit down with N.O.R.E because of his friendship and his interview engagement style. And N.O.R.E was becoming a regular favorite on the Breakfast Club back in the day. I used to watch the Breakfast Club, and when N.O.R.E would be on there, everything was stopped. You always watch N.O.R.E's interviews because N.O.R.E was coming in hot. N.O.R.E was coming in funny. He was energetic. He was charismatic. He had a very good sense of humor. And N.O.R.E would tell these stories unfiltered. He didn't know that he wasn't supposed to be saying the quiet part out loud. And I believe it was either Charlemagne or Peter Rosenberg or both who insisted that N.O.R.E form his own podcast. And for years, N.O.R.E would say, I don't know how to do a podcast. I don't know what that's about. And I believe that Peter Rosenberg or Charlemagne helped him the same way Peter Rosenberg put Joe Budden on, who also said, I don't know how to do a podcast. Quite a few of your favorite podcasters to this day were assisted by people in radio who were in celestial radio, as they say. They assisted these guys to become multi-millionaires. Now N.O.R.E is a multi-millionaire who at the time N.O.R.E didn't know what he was doing with his life. I'm just going to be honest. And Joe Budden as well. And they transitioned from rap into podcasting. So N.O.R.E got with DJ EFN and decided to make a show called Drink Champs, where they would get, for lack of a better word, almost shit-faced drunk and talk to these artists and these different people. And we loved it. It was old school artists. They was giving you, quote unquote, giving you your flowers. They were only there to support hip hop and hip hop based artists and hip hop based media personalities, right? and for a time it was good. They were championed as some of the most innovative interviewers. They plied a lot of people with alcohol, and they plied a lot of people with, I want to say, good vibes. And they made a lot of people feel safe, and some people went on there and said some things they shouldn't have said. Let's just be honest. Drink Champs became a staple for you to learn things about old school artists that you revered, because I'm a little older than many of you, and I have a different ear, and I have a different type of hero that I find engaging. So I went to N.O.R.E because no one else was doing it. And I honestly was offended when Irv Gotti went on Drink Champs was telling N.O.R.E to put the young cats on there. I really almost came up on my skin. He was like, nah, N.O.R.E, you got to put the young cats. You got, what story? They don't have no story according to me. So it's like, you're 23, 25. What do you haven't done nothing yet. You want to bump a 55, 45, 48-year-old artist who's been in the game for 20 years for a guy who just got his record deal 6 months ago, and you want to put that guy on? No, we're not doing that. So I was offended when they tried to change the format to make it more inclusive, and that inclusive mind state offended many of us who watch Drink Champs, because we don't want to hear from these young kids that's 20 years younger than us. We don't care. We don't want to open it up to new people. They didn't carry the show for 5 years. They weren't the ones who made the show what it was, who sat through 3.5-hour interviews of guys that are completely shit-faced drunk, but you still wanted to hear their story. We were engaged. We were in the comments. We were hitting like. We were hitting subscribe. We were hitting share. And we carried that show to a very successful and lucrative place. And a lot of young guys were watching the show too. So they were in part there to learn. They were getting free history lessons that they wanted to know, because nothing is more engaging than just hip hop history. I'm just going to be honest, from the people who made it. So all ages were engaged and intertwined in the format that was created by Drink Champs. Drink Champs created a format that made us believe in it, that okay, it doesn't matter what's going on in the outside world. They're not going to cater to that just for views. And then they started to cater to it for views. I'm just going to be honest. Before, when Drink Champs first started, we thought they were ours. They were for us. This is exactly what we were looking for. And somewhere down the line, it became a race. Somewhere down the line, they started getting mentioned with Rap Radar, Joe Budden, Breakfast Club, and somewhere down the line, it became competitive. They started competing for interviews. And also, they started to bring in other friends of N.O.R.E who weren't so old school and who weren't so hip-hop. And we started to get a few interviews from people who we didn't know why they were on there. I'm just going to be honest. I still, to this day, don't know why Amber Rose was on Drink Champs. I don't know. Maybe you can explain to me. I'm sure they had a great explanation, but I don't know because I didn't watch it. And that continued for a while. So after we got Kanye West, the second Kanye West, when N.O.R.E had to almost tearfully apologize for his part in that interview, right? Because it was surely about to crumble. This was before Kanye went full Kanye, and you realize, wait, he can say anything, it doesn't matter, right? He came out with academics with a full-on KKK suit on, so you realize, oh, yeah, it ain't so bad no more. But at the time, it was like Drink Champs was almost out of here just for an interview that they only asked the questions. They didn't even give the answers. So N.O.R.E had to apologize. I'm sure EFN had to apologize at some point. And Drink Champs was on shaky ground, right? I don't know if y'all remember how serious it got, but they were trying to get Drink Champs dropped from, I don't know, the owner of that, the conglomerate, the corporation is either Sony, Warner Brothers. I don't know which one it is, but whatever corporation was getting pressure to drop Drink Champs as a result of the Kanye interview. So moving forward, like I said, it became a race. They somehow survived that, and it became a race to be recognized as top hip-hop media. Well, you know what you're going to have to do to be recognized from top hip-hop media? You're going to have to stay relevant. And after a while, all those good old-fashioned interviews that we became to love and which built their millions, let's just be honest, right? Before the Revolt deal, when we were watching that thing faithfully, for those good old-fashioned old-school hip-hop interviews that really got them the millions that they got to where they are, they decided they needed more. They decided to interview a different style of person, right? And I get it. You can't just constantly do old heads and da-da-da. But that's what they told us. They were there to give their flowers. So what actually happened at that point, they started to diversify. And they started to want to have comedians and actors and media personalities. It was clearly a numbers grab, because I'm sure N.O.R.E isn't friends with all of these people, right? And we started to kind of side-eye it, but we still watched here and there when it was someone that we wanted to see, right? But I remember a lot of times I'm scrolling and I'm like, nah, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. It became more often than not, I didn't want to see it. I'm just going to be honest. Yes, they had great interviews. I watched Pete Rock and it was some great ones. And I get it. If as you're trying to build something, you start to understand, okay, I got to do more and be more relevant and be bigger in this space. I understand that. But as you start to lose your identity, it becomes tougher to keep the people who were around from day one. I was around from day one, and I started to not want to see some of those interviews. But it seemed like it didn't matter because the new movement was to be number one. When I heard him starting to talk about being number one versus Elliott Wilson and these guys, I'm like, that's not what Drink Champs is about. You're making money. Don't mess this thing up. Just gonna be honest. And every now and then they have an interview that will save the platform, but it seems like the Will Smith interview just did 1.1 million. Big interview, great interview. Will Smith is hip hop. You see the relevance of having a Will Smith on. We deserve that interview. We deserve to know a Will Smith. I don't know what you young guys are into, but Will Smith is the culture. Whether he slapped Chris Rock or not, Will Smith has been the culture. Parents just don't understand, right? I think I could beat Mike Tyson. This guy was innovating. He created a lane that no one was doing. Comedic hip hop. Let's just say it. Will Smith created that lane. I know Biz Markie jumped in that lane. Will Smith, he was the comedic hip hop storyteller. That's how we got the show in the first place, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I know that was supposed to be, I believe, Medina's story or one of these guys' story, but he tagged Will Smith because Will Smith was the only one that could actually pull it off. So that was a pure hip-hop interview. But some of these interviews, I'm just going to be honest, and I know the title isn't Hip-Hop Champs, it's Drink Champs. But some of these interviews, and I love Lunel. But I'm like, why is Lunel? I'm sure it was a great interview. But some of this stuff got out of character. Just gonna be honest. And then N.O.R.E had these spats with these different rappers in the media and just different little things, and it just started to turn into, I don't know what's going on. And I get it, booking is hard. Like, you can't just book the same people over and over. I understand that. And you gotta branch out. But I say all that to say this, I think some of the branches are falling way beyond the initial hip-hop tree that we used to sit under so gleefully and take shots of whatever we was drinking and watching these guys make fools of themselves, but it was amazing. It's like an episode of Hot Ones, right? You loved it, you can't look away. As they burn their mouth and almost come to tears because of these hot wings, right? We are starting to lose focus, and I say all that to say this. I think Drink Champs is in trouble, in my opinion, with this last iteration because it's showing more than one thing. This bringing on Andrew Schulz, the comedian, the controversial comedian, right? Andrew Schulz is telling me something that I don't want to believe, but I think Drink Champs is going a different direction. I'm just going to be honest. I think Drink Champs is going down a road of whatever's going to get the clicks and the views. I'm just going to be honest. I don't know why Andrew Schulz is on a show about hip-hop. I have absolutely no idea. And I don't know why Andrew Schulz is on a show about hip-hop, and the first thing they ask him, they don't ask him anything in regards to Kendrick, one of the most prolific hip-hop artists in history, who spoke allegedly spoke on Andrew Schulz. We've all come to terms that it was Andrew Schulz, as he tries to go back and forth like he doesn't know it was him. Then he responds to it as if it was him. Then he's not sure it was him. Months later, he's still not sure. It may have been him, it may not, but he still keeps talking about it when they ask him, right? A hip-hop platform that brings on Andrew Schulz, who is not a hip-hop head in the slightest, does everything counterproductive to the majority of the culture, right? I'm just going to be honest. I know some of you are going to say, well, Charles, how does Andrew Schulz do things counterproductive to the culture? I'm just going to say this, and I'm just going to get this out the way. For one, he's a Drake supporter. The culture has already shown us they're not jacking it. For two, he is a Trump supporter. The culture has already shown us they're not jacking it. And I know it's a lot of new people to this channel. Right here, you might want to check out, because this is not a Trump freeze. This is not a, we're not Trump over here, just so you know that. So you can hit the unsubscribe if that's an issue. Okay? So Andrew Schulz is very, very, in his comedic, is very right-wing. Right? That's fine. Do your thing. But if you're going to bring him on a hip-hop platform and you're telling jokes and laughing, and damn near he almost had to bring up the Kendrick thing himself. You guys weren't even going to touch it. It's getting scary, spooky. I don't know what y'all talking about over there. Y'all more interested in getting drunk, right? Being buddy-buddy, which is okay. And doing quick time with slime, right? And don't get it twisted. I like N.O.R.E. I ain't got no problem with N.O.R.E. Right? I ain't got no problem with DJ EFN. But I got a whole issue with this whole hip-hop media right now. And people go, oh, Drake and these other rappers, they won't sit down with hip-hop media. Well, what's going to happen if they go on Drink Champs? What's so special about that? They're going to take a couple shots of whatever liquor they promoting, right? Shoot the shit. Let them tell some old stories about how great his life is. And then take some more shots. Then do quick time with slime. And then say, oh, snap, take a shot, one more shot. And then they're going to be fucking drunk 3 hours later. And then they're going to send them home. What are we getting out of that, as the culture? Right? So why would Kendrick go to Drink Champs? Please let me know. Why would Drake go to Drink Champs? Right? We know why Will Smith went there. He's on an apology tour. He would have went to anywhere. I already said he would have went to Math Alpha. He would have went anywhere. He trying to push that album that didn't do nothing. Okay? But as a hip-hop media platform is in the top 5 of hip-hop media platforms, you bring on a guy who was extremely disrespectful to someone who the culture has already anointed that they love this guy. We love Kendrick Lamar. And this guy literally said he would sexually assault Kendrick Lamar if he got him in a cell by himself. You didn't say nothing? He said, where's the Kendrick questions? And I know Drink Champs is supposed to be lighthearted and playful and goofy. I get that part. But saying, son, you got a right-wing antagonist. This guy has almost nothing good to say about hip-hop. His black jokes are borderline racist. When he got on there with N.O.R.E., he was talking to N.O.R.E., and he said, you grew up in LaFrac. Did you have a TV set? Why the fuck wouldn't he have a fucking TV set? To me, who would you ask that except for a black guy in the hood? And how was it funny? See, this is my problem. It's like the hip-hop media that we so-called have, this would have never flew back in my day. And yes, even in Elliott Wilson's day, this nonsense would have never flew. And maybe it's the alcohol, right? But the platform is getting spooky. We want real content. Okay, when you bring your buddies on there, right? Eric Sermon and this guy, that guy, and y'all sipping, and that's fine. Do that. But you bring a guy who's almost an enemy to us. A lot of us don't like this guy. And I'm looking in the comments, and all he's bringing is these right-wing people in the comments talking about get Donald Trump next. Telling us we wrong for having a problem with him, and they don't see why we have a problem with him. These are the people you're bringing. They're not from the culture. They're his fans. He ain't from the culture. They're in the comments calling us stupid. Calling us broke for having a problem with him being on here. So I don't know what's going on at Drink Champs. It's supposed to be giving flowers. What are you giving them flowers for? What has he done in hip-hop? What has Andrew Schultz done in hip-hop to deserve flowers from N.O.R.E. and DJ EFN? Except talk shit. And now he's trying to flip it that, oh, he wasn't upset that Kendrick said, don't have no white comedian talk about no black woman, that's law. Now he's expanded it to what Kendrick said after that about for those that's cooning with him to slide on him. Now, now you're talking about my friends, Charlemagne and whoever else is a part of my team. That's where I had the problem. You didn't say that a couple months ago. So now you got a problem with him saying slide. That shows you're not part of the culture. No one's going to slide on Charlemagne for that, but you're trying to make it into that. Just like this Drake lawsuit. You're trying to pump up something that ain't that. Now you're going to make it. He literally said he's advocating violence. No one took that line like that, except for you. You're trying to make it into that now for all the shit you said, the fucked up shit you said to him. You would pin his legs up and do this and that because he's shorter than you and this and that. You said that shit. You stood on it. You doubled down, and Charlemagne backed you up on it. That you was going to sexually assault this dude if you can get him, or if he was in the jail, he wouldn't have no choice. Remember them words? He wouldn't have had no choice but to consent. So you was going to take it from him, is what you said. And you went on that show, and they sipped shit, and they say one goddamn word about it. N.O.R.E. acting like he don't know what you said. So what happened? What did you say, N.O.R.E.? You don't know what the fuck happened, my nigga? N.O.R.E. don't know what happened? Well, let me tell you what happened, N.O.R.E. This dude heard some shit he didn't even know that what Kendrick said. Somebody told him, because he said it several times. People called him and told him that Kendrick said it about him. Right? He says he waited a couple months to respond, but when he responded, he said, I would make love to that man if I got him by myself in a cell, and there's nothing he can do about it. And you brought him on the show. You let him wear the fucking belt. You gave him his flowers, and you didn't even ask him what the fuck he was talking about. I'm trying to be kinder and gentler, guys. This is a new era. This is a new thing for me. I'm trying to be kinder and gentler because I realize there are opposing views out there. And some people don't look at things as black and white as I do. Now, I don't look at nothing really black and white because they're grays and everything. But some stuff, I need answers. And when I don't have the answers, sometimes I could be a little rough around the edges. So I'm trying to find a way to be kinder and gentler to some of these people because they come in my comments and they're like, gang, you're being too harsh, right? So I'm trying to be kinder and gentler. So I'm going to be kinder and gentler, right? But at the end of the day, I need answers. Drink Champs got a whole team over there. And they allegedly prep these shows before these people come on there, right? They should, right? They make a whole line of questions. And I don't think Andrew Schultz said, don't ask me about Kendrick. He said, where are the Kendrick questions? So y'all brought this nigga there. Y'all had Mama Wanna and all this shit. And you ain't planning on asking him no Kendrick question? You let him sit there and say Kendrick was corny for saying that? Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I missed it. Maybe N.O.R.E set it up sweet and it came out smooth. I went through that video backwards and forwards, and that's the only part I saw. We gotta start. Things gotta change. We slapping hip hop on any goddamn thing that has rappers come to it and leave. Whatever, we just slapping hip hop on it. And that means hip hop has no fucking spine no more. It's watered down. If I can just get you in the building, right? We saw how Kanye interviewed with academics. If I can just get him in here, I just get him in here. Academics moving furniture around for the nigga, just acting like a goofball, right? We just saw academics. Academics is supposed to be the #1 hip hop entity. He's on the stream with Aiden Ross and Drake, fanboying over Drake. Telling Drake that when he does that song, he's gonna rush the stage. This is the hip hop fucking media. I'm being kinder and gentler, gang. That's what I'm doing right now. So I'm gonna chill down. But at the end of the day, right? I'm looking at this, and again, I like N.O.R.E. I like EFN. But do you know what these motherfuckers tell me in my comments? I got responsibilities. I'm just a fucking YouTuber. I've been doing this shit about a couple years. I ain't been doing this as long as them. And you know what they tell me in the comments? You have a responsibility to be fair and impartial. I'm just a nigga giving my opinion. And they tell me I got responsibilities in this hip-hop space. So why don't N.O.R.E have responsibilities in this hip-hop space? Why is everything shits and giggles? And you started the show for that, which is, we get it. Right? We get it. The concept was amazing. Have some shots, have some laughs. But when you bring a guy who did something this egregious in, we need to know, as the hip-hop community who carried that show since 2016, by my math, what's that, 8, 9 years, if I'm not bugging? I could be wrong, but it sounds like 8, 9 years. My math be off. We carried that show for a minute. Y'all gonna hit a decade. We carry that show, not these people for Andrew Schultz. We need answers. We need answers. This guy is almost an enemy to the culture. You brought him on and laughed it up, kikied, gave him the flowers and everything. You ain't even want to talk about Kendrick. But we want to talk about Kendrick. We want to talk about Kendrick. It ain't his responsibility, it's yours. And I get it. I'm putting too much pressure on Drink Champs. I understand. I gotta be honest. This is what I do. And the simple fact of the matter is that he had to say, what's up with the Kendrick questions? Means somebody dropped the ball over there. I don't know how drunk y'all was waiting for him to get. And I know you wanted him safe, right? Once the guests don't feel safe, they clam up, right? But there's a long line of history of Drink Champs doing way too little in regards to those guests. I bet you Ben Zeno thought his ass was going to die when he woke up the next day. How drunk his ass was. Crying on that thing about Eminem. Who else got drunk on that? Davies? I don't know. Mad Heads rocked on that show. So Drink Champs got some stuff to think about. Okay? End of the day, if we're going to do interviews, that interviewee got to understand we might ask you some real stuff. Yeah, we're going to drink and ha, he, he. But at the end of the day, we will have a real conversation about whatever scandal you got going on. And a scandal like that should never be glossed over. I'm just going to be honest. Y'all glossed over that stuff. You barely even let him have about anything. And you gave this guy his flowers and you act like this guy was the greatest thing since sliced bread. But not to me. Not to me. I got a lot of problems with this guy, and Kendrick is one of them. I always thought something was off from him. I could never get into him. I was like, something's the undercurrent of this guy is seething. It seems like he's angry. Something doesn't feel right. I tried to get into the Brilliant Idiots. I tried to get into him and Charlamagne's show, and I would get 5 minutes in, and it's him. I'm like, it's something about this guy I can't get with. I don't know what it is. Something is under his skin that he's not saying. He seems to be giving backhanded compliments. He seems to be very condescending. There's something about him. It feels like he's not comfortable. When he talks about black people, something feels wrong. It doesn't feel like he's endearing to us. It feels like he's talking down to us. That's just me. I could be wrong, but that's how I feel. And this interview was the perfect chance for you to get some clarity on all of that. For people like me that don't get it. And y'all fumbled. Drink Champs, the way hip hop is going, Drink Champs is almost about to be obsolete. I'm just going to be honest. Now they're gonna find a way. This is what they do. They got a lot of money behind them, Revolt and this and that and the third. They're going to find a way to keep this thing relevant by bringing on more of these guys like this, start going more and more right wing, and empowering this, normalizing this nonsense, right? Normalizing this kind of stuff where a guy can sit up there and say, yeah, bring Trump. He's awesome. He's cool. Right? As within 100 days, our society is crumbling. Our economic structure is crumbling. But yeah, bring him on. He's a barrel of laughs. On that note, I'm going to leave it at this. Drink Champs is going to survive, but at what cost? It looks like they're willing to do anything and do nothing at the same time. I'm going to leave it at that. CLBMG.
Look, mission impossible to drop a few lines without dropping old times when Southern Hill was still a gold mine. When pistol grips was my shit and I sold mine. When Alias was not a show and they told mine. Elevate your mind with high quality THC infused products. BlackYeti.com. Black-Yeti.com.
CLB.